It's my great pleasure now to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Chris Henderson. Chris attended St Patrick's College from 1986 to 1991 and was the college captain that year. Chris enjoyed a successful career in high-level management, working in human resources and recruitment companies. However, his life took a sudden and unexpected twist 3 years ago when he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Chris refused to let his illness curb his lifestyle or prevent him from playing football, the sport he loves. And so last year, Chris joined the Richmond Football Club to represent the Tigers in the Victorian Wheelchair Football League. In his debut season, he won the league best and fairest and was named best on ground in the premiership team. To tell us all of his inspirational story, I would ask you please to put your hands together and welcome Chris.
Thanks everyone. I'd just quickly like to pay my respects to Indigenous elders past, present and emerging. I'd also like to thank John for those kind words. Just quickly to special guests, parents, staff and all the students, thanks for having me along today. I must admit, when I first arrived this morning and I found out it's an academic assembly, I was thinking they've got the wrong guy to speak today. I think Glenn's the only one that was here when I was still here, but staff would know that wasn't my forte back in the day. But now I understand perhaps why I was asked to come along today. Just a little bit about me. I did graduate in 91, 29 years ago. We got a 30-year reunion next year. We've already started plans for that. My story started, I guess part of my life lesson started for me. It was the day after Richmond won the grand final in 17. So it was the Sunday morning and I'd got up and I was going to go to footy training, but I couldn't get through Punt Road because of the traffic, because there were still people partying. So I went for a run and I came back from that run and I couldn't feel my right knee. And it felt weird, like I had a cricket pad on or something. I said to my wife, it doesn't feel right, but anyway, we'll be right. Over the next 5 weeks, it spread to the point where I lost the use of my legs. Typical bloke, I still thought it was probably a bit of sciatica or something and I'll be fine. So I went to the GP after work that Monday night and he said to me, I don't like this, Hendo, you need to go and see someone. So I went to a hospital and I never got out. MRIs later, spinal tap. I got diagnosed on the Wednesday and they started treatment on the Thursday for the MS. As you can tell by my voice, it was a tough time. I remember, I think it was day 3 of the treatment. My wife walked in and she said to me, and my wife's a straight shooter, she said, have you been crying? And I was like, yeah, but I've also found out that I could qualify for the Paralympics. And she was like, what? And I was like, I haven't worked out what sport yet, but I'm a chance as a 44-year-old. So I was trying to find the silver lining in anything that was happening to me. A couple of weeks later, the AFL announced that they were going to launch Women's AFL and Wheelchair AFL. 5 teams got on board in the first year: Richmond, Hawthorn, Collingwood, St Kilda and the Tigers. I couldn't go to the first year because A, I wasn't well enough, and B, I hadn't told anyone yet about my situation. So what I did was, I didn't go the first year, but I watched it from afar. Over the next 12 months, I got my treatment under control. I started being able to walk. I could walk to the car. I could walk to 40 metres, then became 100 metres, and I could slowly walk a K. Thing with MS is you're actually fine. Your brain just confuses the messages, so it tells you that your legs don't work, but in fact they do. So once I'd worked out what my new normal was, then I thought, yeah, this is okay. The other thing I did was I told my St Pat's mates. You don't think about it at the time, but it's actually, and I'm sort of going off a little bit off script here, but the St Pat's boys got around me. We have WhatsApp groups. We're on. One of my mates is the CEO of Headspace. Straight away on the phone, supporting, helping. Boys from all over Australia rang. They saw an article in the Shamrock and they would, on the phone, they didn't know, but their support was overwhelming. Anyway, stop crying, Christopher. So last year I went along to AFL. Vic rang me and they said, you should come along and have a crack. And I was like, no, I don't know. The one thing I remember about my time at St Pat's and growing up in Ballarat was footy was what made me. Footy and cricket were my two passions. And I wasn't allowed to play footy anymore because I can't get a head knock. But I thought, maybe I could play this footy. So I went along and I joked to my wife the morning of, it was a come and try day and it was also the draft combine. So anyway, I turned up, jumped in a chair, and it literally is like, I don't know if any of you boys may know this, but draft combine, they beep test you, an agility test, and you have to see how high you can jump. That's pretty hard in a chair if you've never been in a chair before. And I was, pardon my French, but I was shit house. So I was there for 6 hours. I think I was the 6th person booted out of the beep test. I seriously stunk. Anyway, we played a couple of scratch matches. I was okay. That night, I was sitting on the couch with my wife, and I'd had a fun day, so I'd enjoyed myself. It was nothing bad about it. It was a great experience. And then the phone rings at 9:30 at night. I was watching Married at First Sight with my wife, and I was thinking, who calls someone at 9:30 at night? That's such an old man thing to say. So I didn't answer it, and anyway, I played the message, and it was the Richmond captain coach, and to tell me he'd take me with his first pick in the draft. I just wanted to share a little bit of my journey this year. The first 2 games, because I was crap, I was in the development league, so I wasn't even good enough to play for Richmond in the first 2 rounds. Round 3, I'd done okay in the development league. My chair skills were getting better. So I got picked on the bench, and for the first half I sat on the bench and did nothing. At half time we were 57 points down to Collingwood, and I said to the coach, seriously, at what point do you think maybe I'm going to get a run? So he brought me on and put me at full forward. I scored 7 goals in the second half. We lost by 5 points. And I said to him, should have put me on at quarter time. I played the rest of the season. We never lost another game. And I actually was able to sit there with the captain coaches and the vice captains and talk around the fact that we needed to create a team where we were brothers and sisters on court and we had each other's backs. And it was all the things that we learnt when we were at St Pat's. I played the rest of the year, as I said. We played the Collingwood in the grand final. Last year, they smashed us by 70 odd points. They have a mercy rule in our footy, which doesn't get invoked very often, but it got invoked in the last year's grand final. So we owed it to the Pies. I was lucky enough to score 5 goals in the grand final. We won by 14 points and I was awarded the Robert Rose Medal for best on ground in the grand final. A couple of weeks later, we're at the Jack Dyer Medal with Richmond, and Richmond's amazingly inclusive with all this sort of stuff. And so they presented me with the best and fairest medal for Richmond, which was a great honour. And then a couple of days later, I had the league best and fairest, where I made the All-Australian team and was named the league best and fairest by a vote. I didn't play the first 2 rounds, so look out next year. What I was going to say before about the support of my St Pat's friends, it's so weird that my wife still finds it funny that blokes that in 1986, I was down the back, I was showing Paul before, 7C, 7B, 7D, those rooms, the back of the jerk courts there, is where I started friendships with blokes who I'm still mates with, and I'm now 46 years old. And when stuff goes wrong, those boys are the first at my front door to reach out to my wife or to me for anything that we may need. And it's funny because when we face adversity, sometimes we need to find within ourselves the strength to be able to deal with it and not let it swallow us, I guess. The other thing I actually wanted to mention, I guess, adversity is one thing. The second thing was 20% of the population has a disability. That's 4 million people in Australia these days. And the one thing I never understood before I started playing, and probably since I've won some awards this year and other things, is I've been asked to come along and speak at some of these sorts of things, and I wasn't prepared for the impact we can have. I get parents reach out to me now via social media or whatever, and they actually want their kids, they want me to sign stuff, which I still laugh at. They want me to sign things. They want me to have photos with their kids because their kids are in a chair or their kids have got some condition that prevents them from being able to play any sport. But when they come and see us play, we normalise it for them. And I never understood the power of that message that we deliver. But I think for me that's become a really important thing, as I said, is that we make kids think that what we do is cool. They see us crack in wheelchairs. I don't know if anyone can see, we've been national training this week. My hands are shredded from competing against the best in the business, and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. As part of the Richmond Football Club, the AFL with Disability Sport and Rec, and also the Robert Rose Foundation that sponsors the league, it is an honour for me to represent all of those stakeholders with things like this, to be able to talk around the adversity that we face in life that we actually can turn into an opportunity. So I just want to, thank everyone for the opportunity of speaking today. To the Year 12s, I want to wish you all the best this year. Whatever happens, it'll be okay. To the rest, to the Year 7s as well, enjoy your journey. That's an amazing thing that you boys are starting, and in 30 or 40 years' time, you're going to be hanging out with blokes that are my age now, and you're going to be mates with people who you met this year. That's kind of cool, I reckon. Places like St Pat's do that. To everyone else, enjoy yourselves. And I guess the final thing I just wanted to say was, with Disability Sport and Rec, the thing we say is to live your best life. And it's something that I never really got when I started the footy, but I think this year we've learnt that to live your best life is you deal with whatever you're dealt with and you just turn it into the best opportunities you can. So thanks very much for your time.